In this video we're going to talk about below the line promotion techniques. Now, as you can see, this is part one, and therefore it suggests that there are many other parts to come, and it's worth you seeking out those other parts to get a fuller picture of what's involved in this type of approach to promotion. So let's look at promotion techniques. Well, promotion is an important element within marketing. Clearly the task of the marketing section is to promote the product within the marketplace, to make customers aware of the existence of the product, make sure that customers know of its attributes, its price, its quality, make sure that the customers are aware of what's available, and to try and generate interest in the minds of the customers for the product. There are a range of techniques available to help organizations communicate with their target audience. Different techniques we can imagine, including the media, magazines, face-to-face, promotions, demonstrations, exhibitions. There are many ways in which the marketing department may engage or attempt to engage the customers with the product, to try to make the connection between customer needs and the existence of this particular product. In fact, some would argue that the customers may not have a need for the product. The need itself may have to be generated. The customers have to be persuaded that they like the product and that the product is useful for them. Different promotional techniques are suited for different products and target audiences. Clearly, it's the case that if the company is producing a consumer item, then it may want to use mass publication of the idea, publicize the idea through publications such as magazines, newspapers, on the media, on the radio, on television, whatever. But if it's a company producing, let's say, capital goods for companies, producing particular types of machinery, then that would be an inappropriate use of resources to try and advertise it perhaps in newspapers or in magazines. In the case of machinery and specialist equipment, the companies will, generally speaking, rely on face-to-face contacts, on conferences, exhibitions within the industry, and also trade journals, if they exist, and trade publications. The right promotion technique adopted in order to achieve the desired response from the target audience. It's important that the audience, the target audience, that section of the consumer population that's suited to this particular product, they should be identified in terms of their demographics, their age, the phase in which they're at in their lives, perhaps with a young family or with a grown family, perhaps they're retired. So it's important to understand their age, their background, the type of customer that's most likely to want this particular product, and then target them with appropriate techniques. So, for example, if the company was selling retirement homes, for example, then it would not be a good use of resource, presumably, to advertise that company product in a music magazine aimed at 16-year-olds or 20-year-olds. So it's important to have the right promotional technique to understand the product, understand the type of customer that's likely to be attracted, the type of person is likely to be attracted to become a customer of that product, and to target them with appropriate means. Promotion can be broken down into two groups. First of all, there's above the line promotion. Now, above the line promotion means mass media approach, reaching to wider markets and audiences. So above the line, very simply, is mass marketing techniques using television, national newspapers, bigger magazines with widespread publication. That's what we call above the line. Below the line promotion is marketing focused on communicating to the target audience, and promotion is very concentrated. So below the line is trying to identify the target audience and then trying to deal with them directly. It's below the line. It could be face-to-face contacts or door-to-door selling or emails directly. And we'll talk about these various types of below the line techniques as we go through. So let's first of all just briefly look at above the line promotions. It's not the theme of this particular video, but it's important to be able to distinguish above the line from below the line. Above the line promotion refers to mass marketing and developed with advertising agencies, usually associated with high cost. So perhaps it's the production of promotional videos or advertisements for television, or usually it's very expensive and it's aimed at a mass market. That's what we call above the line. Techniques include television, print, online marketing, where there is a global reach. The purpose is to create awareness, build a brand image and provide information. So it's trying to establish the product in the market and try to reinforce the position of the product in the market to ensure that the product is well established and customers are aware of its attributes, its quality, its image. So it's called above the line promotion techniques. Now below the line promotion, well, below the line promotion is more personalized and controlled by the organization's marketing team. So below the line is much more personalized. It's dealing with the customer almost on a one-to-one basis. And in fact, many of the approaches could be based on just that, one-to-one, face-to-face. Face-to-face contact is below the line. It's dealing with the organization and the customer directly. Above the line, the company was placing its product in a very stylized fashion, say on television, creating an image, creating a brand, creating a desirability for the product based on the image. Below the line, much more contact, face-to-face contact between the customer and the organization. This type of promotion focuses on the target audience and works alongside above the line promotion. Simply because a company goes for below the line doesn't mean it shouldn't have above the line promotions as well. Sometimes companies will promote their product on the national media, but at the same time have local campaigns. So the local campaign is the company meeting consumers face to face and talking about the products. At the same time, the products will be advertised in major magazines, on television, on the radio, and using various above the line approaches. Examples of this may be seen from sometimes cosmetics, ladies' cosmetics. Very glamorous advertisements in very expensive magazines, very expensive and well produced advertisements on television. Those are all above the line. But at the same time, the company may have a presence in department stores, putting on exhibitions of how to use their product and using models and stylists to present the product. But that's, in a sense, building on the national brand image, which is delivered through above-the-line techniques. Below the line promotion includes exhibitions, personal selling, direct marketing, sponsorship, and so on. So now we have a contrast between below the line, much more intimate almost, much more face to face, much more contact between the organization and the customer. Personal selling, exhibitions, direct marketing. Above the line, more expensive, more polished, more stylized, more trying to build the brand name, build the reputation of the organization. So when we look at below the line techniques, we can envisage a whole range of these. And I'm just going to skip through some of them here, just to give you a feeling for the type of exercise there are. In fact, in subsequent videos, we're going to look at different types of below the line techniques, and we'll have videos dedicated to different types, which we're going to list here now. So we'll start with product placement. Make sure that the product is in the right market and that it's been properly presented to the customer, and the customer understands the product and is able to deal with the company in a sense directly through the selling personnel of the business. It's able to ask questions and is able to perhaps have a demonstration of the product. It's product placement, making sure that the product is in the right part of the market. What sort of sales promotion? Again, the sales promotion low key. Exhibitions done locally. Contact with the local community. Advertisements in local press. Public relations, and making sure that the organization is understood in terms of what it's attempting to do and how it's relating to the community and its ethical stance in terms of production and the way it deals with its suppliers and its general image within the market. Using loyalty schemes is sometimes used. Customers may be invited to sign up and become a member of, say, some particular club that they have got. Some supermarkets use it. For example, Tesco in the UK, and I think Tesco throughout the world in many other countries use it as well. Shoppers are invited to have a Tesco club card, which entitles them to collect points the more they shop at Tesco, and then eventually cash in the points for products. Airlines, by the way, do loyalty schemes as well. Many companies do them. There's also word of mouth, trying to get customers to explain to each other about the product and the desirability of the product, and having a sales force that deals directly with the customers face to face and able to discuss the product. And the company might want to sponsor local groups and promote its reputation as being a part of that community. Sponsor a football team or sponsor a run for a particular charity. Sponsor a sports day or sponsor some activity. Again, it's getting its name established within the community. Having an exhibition or being a part of an exhibition, having a stand at an exhibition and demonstrating its product. Sometimes exhibitions may give very small businesses an opportunity to showcase their products that otherwise they wouldn't have. So participating in an exhibition may be a good way of getting the product known. Trying to establish the corporate identity. Try to get the company known. Merchandising. Try to associate the product with other products and try to get the customers to understand the benefits of the product and try to show the net advantage in having this product and how the product addresses a particular need. personal selling, the whole idea of personal selling, where an agent of the company, a salesperson from the company, deals directly with the customers. And packaging. How does the product look to the customer? Does it look professional? Does it look desirable? Is the packaging important to the customers? This can cut several ways. Some people like to see the product come in an expensive package. It makes the product look like it's good quality. Other people see packaging as a waste of national resources and international resources, the Earth's resources, because the packaging eventually will be thrown away and discarded. And direct marketing, trying to look at the advantages of dealing with the customer directly, trying to work out not just the price of the product and the attributes of the product, but trying to explain the desirability of the product to local groups and marketing directly to individuals and small groups within communities. I say within communities. In fact, direct marketing can be done online through the use of emails or through contacts established over a telephone, or it doesn't have to be in one single area, but it's direct marketing, and sometimes it is in one area. Sometimes the company may have established some sort of links with the local community and be working with those. So we see there are lots of ways in which below the line marketing can take place, and what we're going to do in these videos is to look at some of these in more detail. And in fact, in this one we're going to just pick out personal selling. I've indicated at the bottom of the screen. We'll look at personal selling and see what are the advantages and disadvantages and what's involved in personal selling. In other videos we'll pick out other areas and discuss those. So let's talk about personal selling. Well, personal selling is a promotion technique where there is face-to-face interaction between the customer and the salesperson, the employee of the business. So just face-to-face, it's personal selling. There are lots of advantages of this for the purchaser. They're able to build up a relationship, and I'll talk about these later, but they're able to build up a relationship with perhaps the seller. They understand that this person can be contacted. If something goes wrong, they can contact this person. We bought the product from this person. So they have some sort of contact with the business, and they've more confidence in the product because they're buying it off some person. It's not an impersonal purchase. So there are lots of advantages to this, as we'll see later, but that's one way, face-to-face. Salespeople are trained to use specific skills, attitude, techniques to build positive relations with customers and to encourage a sale. So the salespeople have to be adequately trained. It's not just a question of giving them some products and telling them to go out and sell them. They have to be properly trained, and they must understand the product completely and be prepared to answer questions and address issues, and so they must understand what the product is, what are its advantages, and be able to honestly and openly discuss the product with the customer. They certainly should not mislead the customer or give them false information. It should be based on honesty. So it's important that the sales personnel are properly trained. Personal selling can take place through face-to-face or telephone contact. It's still personal. Someone on a telephone is a human dealing with a human at the other end. So it's personal. It's a personal line. The same as a salesperson selling the product in a shop or in a store, or even on the street. But there should be confidence on the part of the purchaser. They must be presented with credible information, information they can believe, and they must have confidence in the product, in the company, and in the salesperson. Salespeople are integral to the organization as they provide the direct link between customers. So the salespeople can be viewed as almost the interface between the organization and the market. Take away the salespeople and we have two disjointed institutions. We have the companies, or the company on one side, and the market on the other side. And there's no bridge, there's no link between them. So it's the sales personnel who forges the link. And that's why the sales personnel are so important. Customers have the opportunity to discuss product features, costs, technical aspects, product benefits and uses. So with direct selling, personal selling, the customers have an opportunity to discuss the product, find out what the product can do, what are its limitations, what technical aspects they need to be aware of related to the product. Say, for example, just how to use it properly. The sales force can be internal and a part of the organization, or contracted from external agencies. It really depends on the size of the company. Some companies have their own direct selling sales force. Some companies can't afford that, so they may go to external agencies and contract with the external agencies to have personnel in the field representing their company. So as to whether it's done in-house or given out to an agency, that really depends on the size of the company and the resources it has at its disposal. Now, the aim of personal selling is to research customer needs, to make sure that they understand customer needs. It's pointless trying to make contact with customers with a product that they don't want, they don't need. So understanding customer needs is very important. And this may be picked up through general marketing activities, through market surveys, and through information that the marketing team have picked up over a long period of time. But it's important that the company properly focus the efforts of the selling team, the direct selling team, on customers that are likely to be responsive. So do customers' needs, I should say, match products and services provided by the company? If the customer's needs don't need the product of the company, then there's no point. So it's a question of identifying niches in the market. Which niche has a need for the product? And then attempting to contact those niche customers to try and make the sale. Clearly, if a group of customers are identified, but they don't have a strong need for the product, then a lot of work may be needed to make sales, and perhaps the sales force will be better employed elsewhere. So there's a need to have information about customer needs. There's a need for the company to research the market to identify which customers are more likely to make purchases than others. Begin the selling process. Well, the aim is to convince the customer to purchase the product. Of course, it must be done ethically, as I said. The customer should not be misled or cheated. The product should not be misrepresented. The customer shouldn't be told that the product will do something when in fact it can't. So there are constraints on what can be done, but the aim is to make sales. In a sense, that is the bottom line. Making sales is what it's about. But it's important that the company does this in an honest and open way. If it doesn't, it will actually destroy the company itself. It will build up a bad reputation for the business. Customers will speak to each other. Word of mouth will kick in, and customers will explain that they had a bad experience with a certain product. So the company is in a sense killing itself by being dishonest. So it's in the company's interest to be honest and open. But the company is trying to make sales. That's what it's attempting to do. The selling element can take the following forms. Face-to-face, as I said, could be door-to-door, for example. Although door-to-door is not so much used anymore. So face-to-face, sometimes it could be face-to-face on the street in a city. We're often contacted by people just standing on the street trying to sell something, trying to make us aware of something. Even high-end retail outlets may have face-to-face sellers, perhaps not so much selling particular products, but perhaps personnel within the store whose job it is to identify your needs and to take you to the particular part of the store that will sell products that perhaps address those needs. So it's much more personalized. Could be by telephone, of course, but it's becoming more and more controversial, the use of telephones. People do not like to be spammed. We don't like to be just contacted out of the blue. There are companies who just use random dialers and phone people randomly to try and make sales. But generally speaking, those are not welcomed calls, and it may be damaging to the company and to the reputation of the company. So telephone contact may be seen as intrusive. So the use of telephones has to be done very appropriately. The telephone contact almost should have been approved before it took place. Telephone should not be seen as a cheap way of contacting potential customers. Could be done by sending out publicity information in the post. Again, it could be seen as junk mail, as spam, and a lot of people don't even open those letters. It looks like they've won a competition or they've won a foreign holiday or whatever. A lot of people don't even open. It's just and some research suggests that a lot of the spam type mail never actually gets opened, so it's a waste of resources. It was seen that this type of mail was a cheap way of contacting customers, but more and more it's seen as intrusive and a waste of resources in terms of just the planet's resources, using paper and using facilities to deliver the mail, which was not required, which was not asked for. So it's almost counterproductive in terms of the selling effort. Computer communications, email, webcam, Facebook. Again, if it's push, for example, email, the company pushes information to us. That could be seen as spam as well. We've all experienced our inboxes in email filling up with unwanted emails from companies and from individuals. And We have all sorts of tools online to try and block that type of uh, contact. We have filters and so on to try and block it and to delete it. So again, it may be counterproductive on the part of the seller. If they're using that type of technique, it gives them a bad reputation. Webcams not really that appropriate in this context unless the customer and the company want to meet face to face and discuss the product, and it's done with consent on both sides. However, sometimes companies organize events online, a bit like a webinar, where they're able to have many people turn up and view a demonstration of a product. It would depend, of course, on how important the product was, how expensive it was, as to whether people would want to go to the effort of signing in for a webinar and clearing some time to watch the exhibition. If it was a very cheap product, they may not bother. If it's an expensive product, then they may be interested. And Facebook is much more the individuals researching a product that may lead on to a link onto a Facebook page put up by the company or onto its own web account. So it may be directed to a particular URL, and that may contain information about the product. Now, the advantages of personal selling, well, it encourages sales through two-way communications. So there must be advantages, and that's one. The bottom line, as I said earlier, was to ensure sales take place, to try and get sales. And the selling personnel may be on a bonus, on a percentage of the takings. But it does encourage two-way communications. I mean, the buyer will have an opportunity to ask questions of the seller about the product that perhaps otherwise the seller would not have had that opportunity and would have to buy taking more of a risk. It's generally focused on a target group or segment. It depends on the product, but the products should be aligned with particular demographics. Is it a young person's product? Is it an older person's product? Is it a product suitable for hot countries or cold countries? What sort of product is it? And it should be focused on whatever that identification throws up. Sales can be finalized during the sales presentation. The idea is to talk about the product, explain its benefits, explain its attributes and its quality and so on, and make a sale. So the sale can be finalized there and then. There should be a positive relationship between the customer and the organization. The sales personnel are representing the company, and therefore their personalities are very important. And to that end, there should be adequate training, but also careful selection of the personnel that's going to be used in terms of their personality, their behavior, their use of language as well. So there should be a positive relationship between the customer and the organization after the sale has been made. They should feel that it was a pleasant experience dealing with that person. The sales presentation can be adopted and customized to meet customer requirements. Skilled sellers in the field have the capability of adjusting their sales pitch according to what they understand the customer is interested in. So skilled sales personnel have the ability to orientate their presentation around the requirements of that particular customer. So they may have some background on the customer, they may ask for some background on the customer, and then be able to modify what they're saying in the context of what they know about the customer in order to make the sale. Customers, of course, have a point of contact, a person they can contact if there are any problems, and customers like that. If we're making a purchase and if the purchase goes wrong, if the product breaks down, we like to be able to contact the company and say we bought this product from, naming the person we bought it from, and we bought it on a particular date and now it's broken down. We like to deal with humans. We'd like to deal one-to-one. We bought it from a certain person who is an employee of your company, and we'd like to know what you're going to do about it, please. So it's a point of contact, and customers like that. We like the idea of having personal contacts within organizations. The disadvantages of personal selling, well, sales activity is focused on a small target group, and of course that can limit sales opportunities. Clearly, while the sales personnel are talking to a small targeted group of customers, at the same time they can't be talking to a different group. So, and there is a risk. It may be that the group that they're talking to are not going to buy the product. They have picked up the wrong group. They've made a mistake. And their efforts would have been better placed had they spoken to a different group or gone to a different area. So the sales activity is very focused, which means smaller sales by and large. They're not hitting the mass market. They're only hitting a small particular part of the market. It's high cost of hiring employees, providing training, transport cost, telecommunications. It may involve expenses, living expenses as well. Depends on where the activity is going to take place. So it's higher cost. That means that they have to make considerable sales in order to pay the selling fees, the selling costs, cover all of the company costs, and generate a profit. So by and large, the price that has to be charged will be considerably more if this type of activity is to be used. On the other hand, if it uses above the line techniques, using perhaps television or national press, those are extremely expensive also. So no matter which way we look here, the selling activity is expensive. There's a high reliance on employees. Personal selling is labour intensive. And that's the problem with it. It is almost a very primitive form of production. They're trying to produce a sale, but they're producing it face to face. They're producing it through contact. And there's no or very little opportunity for them to demonstrate the product in any way innovative. It depends on the context, of course, in which they're making the sale. If they're doing it face to face within a showroom, they may have audiovisual facilities and be able to demonstrate the product. But if they're making the sale on the street, they may have very limited capacity to use anything other than their word of mouth. So in that sense, it could be very primitive. But there's a high reliance on employees, on their personal selling techniques. It's labour intensive. It's a whole labour intensive activity. Now, as I said earlier, this is part one of below the line techniques and introduces some of the issues. We'll go on in other parts to look at other types of selling and below the line techniques. So until we bump into those classes, we're going to leave this one where it is and simply say thank you for watching.